Welcome out back, everyone. In case everyone is wondering what exactly is going on, well, the show came to an end, and the three of us were talking, and we decided let's go live. So, welcome back to the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. With me today, right now, in this very moment, 10 minutes later, is my good friend, Mr. Idris. If you guys don't know who he is, that's the man, Roscoe from the Bronx, right there, straight from South Carolina.
North
Very
Carolina,
knowledgeable guy.
North Carolina,
North
North
Carolina.
Carolina.
My bad. My
Yes, South
bad. My bad.
Carolina.
Well,
No, you good.
the reason why I said South Carolina is because obviously, hey, congratulations to the South Carolina women,
Wow, dude.
and your 32-0 season. I will say that last night to watch that 3-pointer go in, a lot of people are saying, why was she so wide open?
Wide open.
Well, the simple answer is because she doesn't take that shot.
Right.
So yeah,
wide open.
yeah, you give up that defense. Oh, I'm Zappy, by the way.
Yeah,
You you allow a person like that to take the three.
Dude, let me tell you, I was at work and I'm sitting there getting stuff in the kitchen. I hear everybody go, I'm like, what happened? I walk out, run out in the dining room, and I see the replay. And everyone said, same thing. Everyone's like, how was she so wide open? And I was like, man, she could have sat there, dribbled the ball, and
and I will say, it going back to South Carolina, it's unfortunate that while you finished the season 32-0, SEC champs, the way the game ended today against LSU, to see 6 players get ejected, it's so unfortunate because you're getting ready to go into the NCAA tournament, and whenever you let your cool go like that, it's something that can carry over and affect the team even in the tournament, and I'm not going to suggest that they're going to get eliminated in the first round because while women's sports has grown so much, the top tier teams in women's college basketball are your top tier teams and are usually the last 4 teams meeting in the final 4, whereas men's college basketball, it's up for interpretation. It could be a team like a Purdue for 3 consecutive seasons, losing to a 13, 14, a 14, 15, and 16 seed. It's like, so it was unfortunate, but congratulations to South Carolina. But so everyone, again, we are back because we just started talking football and we started talking about the quarterbacks at hand. We were talking about the NFL draft, and I started talking about, if the
wait, before you start, let's talk about the Savannah Bananas.
Sir. Oh man. All right. I gotta know. All right.
Savannah Bananas.
All right, guys. So check this out. All right. So one of my son's birthday gifts last week was tickets to the Savannah Bananas game. And I came across the Savannah Bananas one day on Facebook, and I just started laughing. I was like, oh man, these guys are funny, cool baseball team, and they just continue to grow. So I took one of his gifts was tickets to the game. We went there yesterday, and from the moment we arrived, before the game even started, it is a party. It is literally a party, and I thought it was going to be some goofy baseball where you're there more for the entertainment. No, there's baseball going on. I mean, these guys, there was 2 homers hit in the game. The game was held at Minute Maid Park in Houston, home of the Astros. And, man, you talk about everything.
Yeah.
Growing up, there's certain pitchers we see. Pedro Martinez, Andy Pettit, Roger Clemens, David Wells, so on. Well, when I'm sitting there and I hear, and now pitching for the Savannah Bananas, 2-time World Series champ, X amount of time, All-Star, this and that, I'm like, no way it's going to be someone big. It's got to be building up. And then I hear the Rocket, Roger Clemens. I'm like, are you kidding me? One of the pitchers that I would have loved to have seen pitching growing up, and I never had that opportunity, is I finally get to see him when he's 61 years old, man, like the entertainment factor behind the Savannah Bananas game is unbelievable. I highly recommend it to every single person out there. I mean, you talk about a game for the fans. That's it right there. I didn't know what I was in for. Everything I saw, I thought it'd be just little clips from like the one funny moment from this game. No, it's literally from start to finish, just all out excitement, amusement, and laughs. You know, it was an incredible time. So, yeah, man, I highly recommend it to everyone. If you haven't had the opportunity to check out the Savannah Bananas, or if you don't know who they are, go on TikTok, go on Facebook, go on whatever streaming service outlet you use, and look up Savannah Bananas. Give these guys their love, because man, this is an up and coming minor league team. This is a team that at one point was on the verge of bankrupt, and now these are guys that have found a new career while doing something they love and realizing they're good at some other stuff too. Like it's incredible, man. But now going forward,
hold on, let me say something about that. The funny thing, y'all, he just told me this off air, and I looked it up and I busted out laughing.
They're awesome, man. They're fun, and you know, if my son was here, I dropped him off at a friend's house, but he would tell you everything that I said and more, because it's coming from the eyes of a 12-year-old, you know.
Yeah.
So it was an incredible time, man. And like, you know, you walk into the stadium, and congratulations to the team. This was their first appearance in a Major League Baseball team. Oh, Major League Baseball stadium. It's a sellout Minute Maid Park to bring in. I think it was 41,000 or 42,000 people. Like, this is a team that was playing on minor league fields.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, and I mean, it's incredible, the wait list, the people. I hear stories of people creating 9, 10 separate accounts trying to get Savannah Bananas tickets, and it's just like, holy crap. You know, like, this team is just only growing, and the whole mindset behind it. It's think about it, growing up, being in a beer softball league and having fun, that type of thing, you know. Except it's true guys that once played minor league baseball, and a couple of Hall of Famers, Matt Cain, another one. I mean, it was just like nonstop, man. It was an unbelievable time. Shout out to the Savannah Bananas. Like, thank you for the opportunity that you gave Texas, and good luck and continue to prosper. That's the way I look at it.
And on with the show.
So we have the the 2024 NFL draft is upon us. Free agency, or at least the legal tampering period, is 14 hours away.
Yeah.
The big name guys are going to fall, and they're going to fall like flies. That's just how it is. We're going to see guys get overpaid.
Yeah.
But it had me thinking about when we were talking about the draft and Caleb Williams, and will he be number one? And we had someone chime in that was a big Chicago Bears fan, talking about how he rather the Bears trade back, draft Marvin Harrison. So I said, if I was an NFL GM, my order of operation for these quarterbacks, we're going to say top 6 quarterbacks, is not Caleb Williams number 1. It's not Jaden Daniels number 1. It's not Drake May number 1. It's JJ McCarthy. And if I'm a GM, I'm drafting JJ McCarthy. But obviously, because we know the hype, we know what happened when Patrick Mahomes came out of Texas Tech. He's a guy under Cliff Kingsbury's system. He's a guy that can't succeed. He doesn't throw a tight spiral. All the critiquing, because at that time we were still seeing the transition of how the NFL quarterback position is played. But now, so teams are thinking to themselves, well, we can't allow that to happen again. So Caleb Williams is the next great thing coming out of high school. Oh man, this guy's got a lot of similarities, things like that. I don't have him as one of the top 3 quarterbacks in this upcoming draft. Personally, I have JJ McCarthy number 1. I think when I look at the whole frame, everything that these quarterbacks have to offer, who's got the highest ceiling? Without question, the highest ceiling, in my opinion, is Jaden Daniels, and I'm sure you would probably say it the same way.
Yeah.
But who do I think is going to be the most successful in the NFL? I think it's going to be JJ McCarthy. I think we're talking about a guy that's going to win 2 or 3 Super Bowls. That's what I see with JJ.
I agree, man. I think the top 3 off the board will probably be McCarthy. Well, my opinion, I think it should be McCarthy. No certain order. I say McCarthy, Daniels, and Drake May. I've never had confidence in Caleb Williams. I've seen too many flaws in him. Mental stuff, in the NFL is mental. And depending on where you go play, whether you go in Chicago, Philly, New York, wherever, even Dallas. I know he's not going to Dallas because Dallas already has their quarterback set. But those type of cities, you can't be running up in the stand like, "Mama, you promised this, and I'm going home and sleep with my pet, my dog and stuff." No, you can't have that. You can't have that. And I think what you said about JJ. We talked about in the last show about being pro ready. He's in that system. He was with a professional. He was in a pro. He's with a coach who coached in the pros. So he knows how to put that mentality. This is how it is. I need you to lead. I don't need you to be the 5,000-yard thrower. I need you to manage the game. I need you to do things. I don't need you to make mistakes. So I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, man. You know, it's so unfortunate too, because one guy that comes to mind, another guy that I think is going to be very successful in the NFL, but with this guy, he's going to need time, and not because he can't play the position. It's because of a very unfortunate injury he suffered, that being Jordan Travis. He, in my opinion, would be number one because of how NFL ready, a guy that takes the ball from under center a lot, things like that. It's unfortunate. He's going to be a guy that, man, if you don't land one of the top 8 quarterbacks, if you don't land one of the top 10 quarterbacks, hey, why not? Why not take him in a 4th round or 5th round? Why not use one of your compensatory picks that you just were awarded a couple days ago?
He's
definitely going to be a steal. But you can't be a New York Giants. You can't be a New England Patriots, Washington Commanders, Vikings, Falcons. You cannot be one of those teams that needs a quarterback now. You need to be the New York Jets. You're moving on from Zach Wilson. You have allowed him to seek a trade. You saw what happened when Zach Wilson was replaced by Mike White. His career resurrected. He moves on to Miami, becomes their backup. Joe Flacco, that he didn't work out too well in New York, but he did work out with Cleveland. So does Zach Wilson. You're not a backup quarterback. Let's trade you somewhere else to be a backup. And hey, we're all in on Aaron Rodgers, so why not take a chance on a guy like a Jordan Travis, where you don't have to use future assets to draft the quarterback? Rodgers, I think because of the injury, his career will be at least 2 more years, not 1 more. And so that, I could see a Jordan Travis right there. But going back to the top, man, it's like, honestly, if Michael Penix did not suffer 2 bad knee injuries, I think he would be right there at the top, man. And his shoulder injury, and I look at how he played in the semifinal against Texas defense, who all year was one of the better defenses in the country, and he just picked them apart. Perfect example, Caleb Williams and and Michael Penix. To me, the love should be going to Penix, not Caleb.
I'm just not sold on Caleb, man. I think Penix would be better. I think he'll go late in the 1st, maybe early 2nd, and getting to Jordan Travis. I rooted for that kid because I just love, like I said, because he played in any quarterback that plays under center, he gets my respect. And I watched him play at Florida State, the shoulder fake, and you don't see that no more. Going on the center, dropping back, shoulder fake, and throw it deep. You don't see that. And with, like you're saying, if he goes to somewhere like the Jets where he has to sit, because then he had an ankle injury, so he's going to sit anyway. Learn the game. Caleb Williams, I just don't trust him. I take Michael Penix, and still I wouldn't start him right away. I would sit him also a year because I see you bring these quarterbacks in, you start them right away, you destroy them. I wasn't a fan of Jones nor Zach Wilson. I felt Wilson coming out of BYU, I think he went too high anyway. I just wasn't enamored with the kid. And as we said in the last show with Mac Jones, you played at Alabama. Look at the receivers you had. Look at the running backs you had. Look at the coach you had. Look at the offensive line you had. You could not fail at Alabama.
No, you couldn't. And I mean, and that's why we're seeing Alabama fail now, because one of the big reasons, the NILs. And that's why we see one of the greatest coaches, Nick Saban, step away. It's, when you're not if you're not able to get the best talent, then all of a sudden you're exposed, you know? No, you know, and the other one I look at is, look, yeah, the top 4 quarterbacks are going to be JJ. They're going to be May. They're going to be Williams. They're going to be Daniels. Where'd I go? Why am I on the one here?
You're there.
Anyway, so it's going to be these guys.
Richie's behind the boards playing around, but you there.
I gotcha. So we got these top 4 quarterbacks, but I look at other quarterbacks, man. We were talking about Michael Pratt. Dude, Joe Milton, he's a guy out of Tennessee. I mean, he stepped in last year for Hendon Hooker and played well. And then Hendon Hooker goes on and gets drafted by the Detroit Lions. And here we are 1 year later, and he played phenomenal.
Yes.
And here's a guy that does not show much effort when he's going to heave the ball 60, 70, 80 yards down the field. It's effortless for him. He's a guy that if you're talking about quarterbacks at the combine, he checked off all the boxes. So it's, you know, I love it.
The quarterback class is deep. And like I said, things like Pratt and Milton, they don't talk about them. Like I say, they don't talk about Jordan Travis. It's always Penix, Bo Nix. Like I said, they ain't saying nothing about Spencer Rattler. You know, you got Jaden Daniels. I mean, you hear about Drake May. These are the quarterbacks. They're called Caleb Williams. But you have these other quarterbacks who they're not talking much about. And those are the still. Russell Wilson went in the 3rd round. Joe Montana went in the 3rd round. Tom Brady went in the 6th round. Brock Purdy was the last man.
Mr. Irrelevant,
Mr. Irrelevant. So you got to look at these guys and be like, hey.
Well, I mean, let's break it down. I mean, when you're looking at quarterbacks in general, the success rate of being the number 1 pick, number 2 pick, so on and so forth, how many number 1 picks actually won quarterbacks?
Right.
You know, and especially fast forward to today, where we have seen the transition of the college game make it over to the NFL game, which is now we see the success of the running quarterback. But really, how many number 1 picks have won the Super Bowl? Dating back to, let's go with, who would be the last one? Was it Peyton?
11, sir. That would be 11 out of 58 Super Bowls.
I think the last one was Peyton.
Peyton was right, and that's the point I'm making. Is back then, when there was less teams, it was more often you would see the number 1 pick. Troy Aikman won 3 of those Super Bowls, you know, and he was the number 1 pick. But again, Troy Aikman would not succeed in today's game.
No.
Terry Bradshaw probably would do okay in today's game.
Yeah,
you know, okay. Montana, if he got a little
similar to Tom Brady, that I still think that floppy eras, Montana could do what Brady did similarly, assuming health is on his side. But you know, in this era, you stay healthy.
Yeah. You look at what today, it's like, no, these quarterbacks, but that's why number 1 pick. You don't go after Caleb, man. You just don't do it. You don't do it. I'm sorry. And even number 2 or 3, you don't go after Caleb.
I just don't trust them, man.
I mean, now let's look at the list of quarterbacks that were drafted number 1 that did not succeed. Jamarcus Russell. I mean, we're talking Ryan Leaf was that close to being number 1, but Jim Irsay somehow had his head out of his you know what.
Well, you remember what Peyton Manning said? He said, "If you don't draft me,
you're gonna pay."
Yeah, you know, and that there's only so often where, but this is not the year.
Oddly enough, the Chargers did tend to have Peyton's number, but it was far removed from the Ryan Leaf era.
And who's got the last laugh, though?
Indeed.
I know at the end of the day, Chargers are the only history they have is that they got blown out in the Super Bowl, that Steve Young got the monkey off his back.
And that they defeated Tom Brady without taking the responsibility of taking a knee. And they ruined a beautiful 06 season that essentially would have produced the Super Bowl, because that 06 Charger team was not going to lose. That had to be the most selfish play I've ever seen in an organized team sport in recent memory. That was a long time ago. It wasn't that recent. While we're on the subject of Manning's, got to do a little segue, boys. Why you have to score the results, the guy on my hat to dump a ton of picks to secure a top 5 pick. Mr. Eli Manning, they switched out his jersey, but that's him running off of Lambeau with the fist pump and getting some brats thrown to him. This is my thing, guys. That was a heavily scrutinized trade for 2 reasons. He pulled the John Elway act when he was like, I'm not going to San Diego, fuck that. And Archie taking the approach that Eli's the baby bro because Cooper was a great quarterback that didn't go pro due to injury. We all know what Peyton did, arguably the greatest to ever do it. Eli was like, he's a Manning, okay, yeah. Ole Miss. So anyway, not really looked at as his own man. Peyton went to Tennessee, kind of against the family tradition. And, Eli, it was not popular. Sean Merriman, Nate Kading, and, of course, Phillip Rivers were three of the notable players that were sent to San Diego. And the immediate results were not looking favorable for the New York Football Giants. But when you consider that Phillip had to go through the likes of a conference that featured Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning, where the power of quarterback was in the AFC, the power of defense, the power of maybe the wide receiver position, and yes, some good quarterbacks were in the NFC. You had some aging guys. You had Favre, who was still doing it. Unbeknownst to Dallas Cowboy Nation, they didn't realize that they had a gem in Tony Romo. Eli, after a very trying year one in 2004, highlighted by a shootout loss to Big Ben, rookie class clash, second year, 11-5 win the division. The point I'm making, on part one, we were very back and forth about what's best for the Giants because winning that stinking Eagle game, even though I love beating them, put us out of 5 and into 6. So now it's like, to avoid missing out on one of the top 4, do you have to trade back into the top 5? Or do you trust the process and do you take what comes to you? And I have such mixed feelings on this. But my bottom line with this is simple. He has to garner at least half of what that man did in order to make it make sense. And the only way you know if it's going to make sense is over time. We all know that Joe Shane, Brian Dable want their own guy. We all know that the Chargers are committed to Justin Herbert, even though Idris has stated on many a show that he wants to see a legitimate growth out of Herbert. And I think with a former quarterback that has been around the block and is freshly off of an NCAA title in the form of Jim Harbaugh, I think the elevation of Justin Herbert's game is going to get nurtured rather well.
I think so, too.
And I also believe, sorry to interrupt, I also believe that Zach Wilson, that guy, backing up Trevor Lawrence is actually going to benefit Zach Wilson because once again,
Mac Jones.
Same difference. I'm sorry.
Same guy.
I'm sorry. I heard you. I was in the back watching the show, and I heard you guys talking about Zach Wilson getting the green light to get traded, and I did the little flip-flop with Mac.
Same guy, just different.
Yeah, same quarterback rating. But the point is, Mac Jones, as I heard you boys say, 5-star athletes all over the field, had a shit ton of success in Bama, but gets to the pro game, the game's too fast for him. And after you got a little film on his ass, okay, now the good times are over. Now Bill Belichick is out of a job and he's sitting out on 6 rings, the boat, figuring out what the next move is, possibly popping in his VHS of the lovely 1990 Giants season, maybe 86. I don't know. First Gatorade shot. That's kind of enticing. Point is, that dude fell to them. That was not something they were seeking. That's something they settled for. Let's be real. That's something they settled for. That's like when your buddy gets the hot chick and you're like, come on, man, please, I'll give you gas money. You got to drive me. Please, bro. She's a nice girl.
And not to get completely off subject, but isn't it crazy that Jacksonville took the chance? And what a slap in the face to C.J. Beathard because he played well.
Especially in the game where T-Law first got hurt against Cincy.
Yeah. But, I find it hilarious that the Jacksonville Jaguars, out of all NFL teams, the one team the NFL is willing to ship off to England,
right? They
have a pretty boy and the drunken white boy on the same team. Like they're playing the same position. Like what a storyline that's going.
They got to bring back Bortles.
Might as well.
I mean, they have Sunshine leading the charge right now, and then they have what's his name from the program as their backup. That's what they have right now. It's
shout out to the former namesake of the show, Mr. Jordan Patrick. devout Jaguar fan. He's a real one. He's been with them since they first came into the league. And we talk about quarterbacks and guys that have been a little complacent and a little comfortable. I know Idris on previous shows voiced his opinions about Justin Herbert, and I got to say, this is a prove-it year for Mr. Lawrence because Trevor Lawrence is not the same untouchable perfection entity that he was coming out of high school / college, where the man never lost on a freaking Saturday or a Sunday.
And hey, let me, going back to, I think his name was Chris that was tuning in a little while ago.
So he was
going back to this class, and now I'm going to ask you gentlemen each a question, and we talked about it before we went live as we were talking. But anyways, all right, so all the hype that's behind this quarterback class, and we're talking about Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, two quarterbacks that came from the same class, that honestly, between the two, I'm actually going to put my faith and trust into Justin Fields succeeding, because when you look at Trevor Lawrence, the talent around him got better with the addition of Calvin Ridley coming off of his suspension. And yet we saw a very powerful, potent offense become almost neutral and couldn't do anything because the play of Trevor Lawrence, and how ironic, because we saw a tale of two halves in the wild card game against the Chargers, where he threw 5 interceptions in the first half and led the Jaguars on a comeback to eventually defeat the Chargers, and here we are, two quarterbacks that have to prove it. But in my opinion, I think Justin Fields proved it this year more than Trevor. And when I look at Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, all these quarterbacks that came in the first round, you can make a case that every one of the quarterbacks in this year's draft may be along the similar outline, but however, one of them just stands out. I mean, if you rank those quarterbacks with the quarterbacks coming out this year, it would be interesting.
I have a question for both of you pertaining to what you're exactly saying right now, Zach. Justin Fields, interesting case. I even suggested that if the Giants don't go the young route, not that Justin Fields is old, but he's in the league already, maybe orchestrate something that they get him. Oddly enough, they set up Chicago to get him. My thing is this, Zappy. I do agree with you to a level, but do you feel that some of Justin Fields' good metrics were kind of won over in a latter part of the year where the pressure was off and the Bears were considered not a wild card contender? Now, granted, in a league that allows 7 teams in each conference, nobody's really dead until the end. But do you feel it was smoke and mirrors, or do you think that he's growing into the guy that they're playing a smokeout game with a Caleb Williams, when in reality, they have no intention of moving on from Jay Fields?
No, I think the guy, let's remember, he did suffer an injury, and when quarterback comes off of an injury, it takes him a little more time to get going again. So he had that setback. If he doesn't have that injury, the Chicago Bears quite honestly could have been the Packers. They could have been the team finishing in the 7th seed and not the Packers.
And that's a suggestion, and Idris recalls this, I believe, that we all suggested that going into the new year, with the emergence of the Packers having that surprising victory over your guys, and with the Detroit Lions being ever so close to the Super Bowl, that just perhaps, with maybe the exception of the Minnesota Vikings, who don't really know their ass from their elbow right now, the NFC North might be the best NFC division right now.
It's not might be. It's going to be.
Yeah.
We know what we have in the NFC West. The Niners and the Rams, they're going to be the cream of the crop next year. Seattle is going to take a step back before they move forward again. NFC East, I fully expect Philadelphia to take a step back. I fully expect Washington to actually take a good step forward. And look at the NFC South. This division is there for the Falcons to take it if they want it. It's a matter of, will they trade up or will they trade for Justin, or are they going to go all in on Kirk Cousins? If they go either way, I think the best option for the Falcons, because they're a ready-made team now, is get Kirk Cousins. And then I look at the NFC North. Well, we have the defending NFC North champs and also the unfortunate loss to the 49ers, where they controlled most of that game, but due to Dan Campbell and some of his questionable calls we have seen throughout the season, They went home. We have the Green Bay Packers who went into AT&T Stadium and had a 48-16 lead in the fourth quarter. It was not 48-32.
Pause that 1 second, Zappy, because I want to tell you something in reference to Dan Campbell. I revisited an old episode that we did about a year or so ago, where Dan Campbell did the same crap on opening day against the Philadelphia Eagles, not taking points and ultimately a bidder. And he didn't have the caliber of team that he had. And in a weird way, it made me feel a little better because a lot of football purists were losing their shit when they saw that, like the questionable stuff was like, no. I can understand taking a chance once. But when you're playing with the stakes that high, to not take field goals that were super makeable, I can understand if maybe you had Anders Carlson, who was a horrible kicker this year for Green Bay. But I'm sorry, you don't take points off the board like that. Idris, Zappy's on fire, man.
Last point, and then going to the last team, that's Minnesota. We needed to see what was going to happen with Baker Mayfield. I thought he would get a similar deal to Geno Smith. He got a little more deserving, so he's the more recent quarterback appearance. He won a playoff game where Geno did not 2 years ago. So
Daniel Jones cost him about $30 million.
Well, no. I mean, remember, Baker Mayfield was in a position where he had to bet on himself.
Yeah,
going into free agent. Daniel Jones was not.
He got kicked around a little bit with Carolina, and then got that little jolt with the Rams.
Yeah. So now we see Baker, what he got. Kirk Cousins, does he deserve more than $40 million? I would say yes.
I mean, who's the best receiver in professional football right now?
He's not in Minnesota, and I can tell you that Jetta is not the best receiver on that team. That is Jordan. That's Jordan Addison.
Yeah, Madison. Yep.
That's why you're able to say, hey, Justin Jefferson's on the trade block. Because I'm sorry, I think Jordan Addison is a much better receiver.
You're able to say that because Jordan Addison's not up for big money. He's not better than JJ yet.
I don't know about that. I got to go with Addison myself, man. But getting back, Trevor Lawrence, when he came out of Clemson, he's another quarterback I wasn't too keen on. I said the man throws a lot of interceptions. But people who didn't watch college football, no, take for try. I said the man throws a lot of interceptions. I said he's Jameis Winston with a little bit more accuracy. He throws. I say he's going to blow a lot of games because he throws to the wrong people when you need him to throw it to the right person. And that's been his Achilles heel. He always throws. And now he's starting to get hurt. Like, dude, come on, man. This is why Richie drinks. Let's take a vote. We will take a vote.
Jordan and Justin. I mean, it's easy to say Justin Jefferson is the better receiver because he's got the resume behind him. But,
that kind of matters when comparing guys.
Well, correct. But then if I would have put Jordan Addison with that LSU offense, they don't skip a beat. They don't skip a beat at all. If I put Jordan Addison with Adam Thielen, I mean, we saw what Jordan Addison did this year with Justin Jefferson off the field.
Timeout.
Yes.
Timeout. You're Dallas Cowboys.
A Cowboy fan and a Giant fan agree.
What the hell is going on? Must be a time change or a warp zone.
This is best receiver in Minnesota, 100%. Not in the NFL.
Exactly,
no, best receiver economically for the team, but I cannot allow Addison to jump JJ just yet. That's too disrespectful.
When JJ came back, I didn't see anything to tell me, okay.
What you mean he didn't? What you mean he didn't want to get his neck broken for Nick Mullins?
But Addison.
He had Kirk there too, and we saw the transition of Kirk throwing the ball more to Jordan than he did Justin.
It's that comfortable thing. He was comfortable. Like I'm gonna, a quarterback. If he feels comfortable with somebody, that's who he's throwing the ball to.
Zappy, your beloved Dallas Cowboys, a couple of years too early, anointed CeeDee Lamb as the number one while letting a very, very good Amari Cooper walk out the door. And I think what I'm trying to say is I'm not trying to jab nothing. I'm just saying that, yes, financially, sometimes you've got to make tough decisions where a younger guy takes precedent. We see it every year with the freaking running backs. We see it with a lot of things. All I'm trying to say is that catch in Buffalo and that weather, the things that I've seen that man do on a football field in a short period of time, I'm going to give him a mulligan on being unfocused last year. I think this year he's going to have a monster year regardless of who's throwing the football.
So going back to that one thing, though, yes, we traded Amari. I hated that trade.
It's a tough one, though.
And hey, good job by the Browns. Trading a 5th for Amari Cooper and a 6th for Jerry Jeudy, like, good job, guys. Like,
that's a good way to recover a reclamation project.
But when I'm looking at Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, and yes, we drafted CeeDee to be the eventual number 1, and back then he wasn't yet. But if we're talking about CeeDee and Amari today, CeeDee is hands down 1,000,000 times better than Amari Cooper. Yeah, like CeeDee Lamb is literally one of the top 2 receivers in the NFL. It's between him and Tyreek Hill. There's no question.
CeeDee's freaking,
and CeeDee's only going to be more explosive next year. Like CeeDee Lamb has become everyone weird,
undeniably. So
yeah, that's why I say. Better. So here's my question: who is the better receiver, CeeDee Lamb or Amari Cooper?
I'm gonna go CeeDee.
Right now?
Yeah.
I'm going CeeDee.
You have to go CeeDee, who's going
to have the better career?
But I want to say one thing before we go to the next.
I don't think it'll be close either.
Who's going to have a better game in weather?
I saw Amari Cooper drop a ball against New England in bad weather. That the difference in the game was the Matthew Slater block punt.
If Joe Flacco didn't throw the ball, it doesn't count.
No, when he was with Dallas.
Oh, okay. You're going
so I'm going CeeDee. CeeDee.
I also saw him in
the Texans. Because you got to look at Amari Cooper's time in with the Raiders.
Everything.
To where CeeDee, he came to the Cowboys, and each year he's got better.
Oh, the talent was always there. His biggest thing,
you know what I like about CeeDee? That guy's humble.
No, he's good.
Very.
I love CeeDee.
You gotta have a certain professional. You gotta have a certain professional humbleness to wear that number 88, because people can talk all they want about Irvin, and some people hate him and some people love him. But at the end of the day, he didn't take no damn plays off. Neither did the real 88, Mr. Pearson.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we're talking about CeeDee Lamb, we're talking about Justin Jefferson, we're talking about Jaden Daniels, we're talking about Caleb Williams, we're talking about all these things. And one of the common things we have here is they're LSU players.
Yep.
Jaden Daniels is going to need time to grow as a quarterback. However, when you think of Joe Burrow, you think of Joe Cool. And then I said I would move on from Jamar Chase.
I would too.
Show me the bag. Or, oh, damn, I don't know if we're going to be able to afford T. Higgins.
Yeah,
and the previous batch of notable guys out of LSU was actually Jarvis and Odell. Oddly enough, Jarvis was the better collegiate player, but when you look at how Odell kind of fizzled out, some of it makes sense. Injuries marred him up too.
When I look at and that's why I say Jordan Addison is the better receiver, because you say you won't give it to him today, but 3 years from now, Jordan Addison is going to be considered the better receiver. I just look at it from a talent standpoint. Jordan Addison is a phenomenal receiver, and he does a better job of reading defenses. He knows how to get into.
But a problem is too that could prolong his numbers and some of his career trajectory. Is what are the Minnesota Vikings going to do at that quarterback position? He keeps going back to the draft. Are they bringing back Kirk? That's a possibility.
I think they'll bring back Kirk.
I think Kirk is down to two things.
The Raiders, maybe?
No, sign with Atlanta or go back to Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's it. There's nothing else that makes sense for Kirk.
You don't think the Raiders make sense?
No. Because when I look at who are the teams that are – all right, so what is the easiest road to the Super Bowl, gentlemen?
I would say
the NFC South is one.
Yeah, well, winning your division. That's the easiest. That's the first route to the Super Bowl. You win your division, you guarantee your spot in the playoffs, and you guarantee your spot at least one home game. Kirk Cousins looking at teams that are ready to win the division, even though, like we just talked about the Lions, the Packers.
Did a Cowboys fan just say on our show that the easiest way to get to the Super Bowl is by winning your division? Because those things are starting to turn into. I love you, Zappy. You know this.
It's been the story since '96.
Because it gets you a home game.
And the reason why I'm not going to really go in on you is because you guys suffer from the same syndrome that my New York Yankees do.
I'm going to defend the Cowboy fan, and I know I'm about to get cursed out from everybody from Philly to New York to Frisco. Everyone's going to go in, but I'm going to defend the Cowboy fan. Even though the Cowboys have won the division and not done anything, you win that division, you get a home game.
You're in,
and that helps.
Yeah,
it only takes that one. Takes that one game. You win at home, you get that momentum, and you never know what that next draw. That next draw might be where you say, let's say Frisco is playing Philly at home.
Oh, no question.
And that is Philly.
It changes things.
They upset Frisco. Then Philly got to come to Dallas.
A perfect example is the Miami Dolphins, who had an opportunity to win the East and avoid the cold weather. And I wanted to make a quick mention of this, guys.
Let me say some Hail Marys because I
defended and another Hail Mary to follow. Boys, I understand that things happen in inclement weather, like we saw it with Coach Coughlin in the Tundra game in Green Bay.
Yeah.
But listen, I don't wish any human any bad, whether I like them or not.
Yeah.
But you gotta be a real dumb SOB to go to KC at that juncture of the season shirtless, and then they're crying me a river about potential amputees.
Yeah, dummy.
I have the biggest heart for amputees that served our country, not dummies that served the beer vendor that decided that they didn't want to wear clothes to a professional football playoff game.
Hey, I'm going to the game like I'm going to Alaska. Parker, sweatshirt.
Yeah, bro.
You know how it is. You've been there.
Dude, all right. So a buddy of mine, when I was stationed in California, Noy Maroney, he called me one day. He said, "Hey man, you want to go to Minnesota?" I'm like, "For what?" He's a huge Seahawks fan. Huge Seahawks fan. And he's like, "Dude, the tickets for the Seattle Minnesota game are like $1." I don't know if you guys.
Oh yeah, probably because it had to be in the worst part.
It was one of the.
It was outside, right?
Yeah, it was that playoff game that was it back in 2000.
It wasn't that long ago. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Yeah,
you know, where it was just like, holy crap! All right, Seattle won that game.
Yeah.
In the cold, and he asked me, and I was like, "You're out of your damn mind." And you can give me a parka.
It's an experience.
No, you can give me a parka, a heater, everything. You will not find me in cold weather games.
That's the kind of game you'd rather play in than actually sit and watch.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. All day. I mean, every NFL team needs to transition to a dome.
So you mean to tell me that you got offered a football ticket that costs less than those popular medium Pepsis of the Joe Judge era?
No, I didn't get offered the ticket. I got offered to buy a ticket and to take a flight and go watch an NFC wildcard game.
I'll pass.
That I gladly denied because I'm not sitting in -6, 7. I'm not sitting in 20-degree weather, let alone -6, 7 with a wind chill.
No, that's absurd.
I mean, I'm trying to move out of the Carolinas.
Being an Irish fan, South Bend is pretty absurd, but that's still different.
But all right, All right, question, guys. All right, this is the question I wanted to ask you guys a little while ago, and this is the suggestion I offered. This is what got us. This is actually the conversation that got us to start another show.
Okay.
All right, so we were talking about the quarterbacks. We were talking about the Bears, and I suggested to you, Idris. I also suggested this to Richie because Richie did ask me, "Hey, what do you think the Giants need to do?" And I think ever since we saw. There he is. We came back to hit on the things you were talking about because I got really adamant about Caleb Williams not being the #1 quarterback in this draft, nor number 2 or 3 or 4. So yeah, we came back on because that was a huge reason. And I said there's only 2 teams, in my opinion, that move up to number 1. Because your Bears are going to be trading back. I think Caleb will be the number 1 pick, but it won't be the Bears. But anyways, so Richie, Idris, I said that I think you guys need to trade up to number 4.
Come on, bro.
You guys should trade next 3 first and
the guy on my hat has no sir. That's steeper than what 2 Super Bowl MVPs would cost.
So I suggest, all right, so I think it's pretty clear you guys are going quarterback. You want a quarterback. Buyer's remorse are the words we're hearing coming out of the combine.
But he's also a Jet fan, so
whether he is or isn't, I think it's pretty clear.
That's a lifetime of remorse.
That was a bad move. All right, I suggested you guys trade up to number 4 with Arizona and guarantee yourselves JJ McCarthy, because I think number 5, the Chargers are
it's going to be a steeper hill to climb with a fair trade.
Well, the Chargers, if the Cardinals take Marvin Harrison at 4, the Chargers are now the gatekeeper where, hey, Atlanta, you want JJ? You missed out on Kirk Cousins. You move up and you get him, because Desmond Ridder and Mariota and what's his name that played
Mariota.
I know. Well, he was with them the last year.
But this is the thing.
And Taylor Heineke, you cannot allow the opportunity for the Vikings, the teams from 11 to 14 to move up. And would you guys give up
if they're drafting high? If it's not Minnesota, say if it's Atlanta, it eliminates them from that possibility without saying.
So they said, what's that?
That's where Raiders come into play.
Would you move up from 6 to 4, give up a 3rd, knowing you have 2 2s to guarantee yourself JJ McCarthy?
Well, yeah, because you have the 2 second-round picks. That's not that damaging. But I couldn't justify that if you didn't have 2 seconds because of the organic way that McCarthy might just drop to you anyway.
Yeah, I'll move up to 4.
Because a lot of times teams do this shit in the draft based on overthinking and the unknown, other than what teams are honestly intending on doing. And you can't blame a team like the Chargers for trying to milk it out, because they're like, yo, we could get a free pick here. Let's take advantage.
Did you ever see?
4. I would move up to 4. That'd give me, depending on Tyrod Taylor, but I would keep Taylor. I would try to sign him because I don't want to play McCarthy this year.
I don't see Tyrod back. It's going to be a quarterback. It's not going to be Tyrod, because Tyrod, believe it or not, is actually kind of expensive for a backup.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see him coming back, but I would like him to come back because, like I said, Jones is not coming back anytime.
You're a knowledgeable dude. Who cooked this one up for you, Mike Tannenbaum?
Yeah, right.
Come on, bro.
Chris, go to bed, man.
Hey, I'm 100% for it. Dexter Lawrence and 2 firsts to move.
We want John.
Make it happen.
We want John Goodman. We want John Goodman. Give us John Goodman, Ron Rivera, Emory Moorhead, all in their prime.
Hey, yeah. You know what, Chris? That would be beautiful. I'm all for it. You know what? Your 2 first this year, first next year. One of your 2s, Dexter Lawrence, to move up to number 1. Select Caleb Williams. All right. Yeah, I like.
But this is the thing.
I like the trajectory.
But this is what I mean about. Time out. But this is what I mean about people overthinking things. By the Giants sitting at 6, they could get a better quarterback than what's supposed to come out at 1. If what people need to understand is stop messing with the illusion. Yeah. Sometimes things are exactly what they look like. Orlando Anderson did what he did because he got snuffed. Yeah. The Chicago Bears are going to trade out of the 1 pick because they don't have confidence in the guy that they think that somebody else should be trading up for. Caleb Williams is bust central. Drake May, with the right scenario, could win, but I'm not trusting the ACC element. Jaden Daniels, I think, will win a Super Bowl in this league, assuming he stays healthy. JJ McCarthy, I think, could win up to 2 possibly. This might get laughed at because of all his extremity injuries, but Michael Penix has a big heart that I think is needed to be a leader of men. And I do think that in the right situation, he might surprise people because of the fact that he's kind of a long shot given the – and top of the hour, it goes without saying that if Travis wasn't injured, he's likely a top 3 pick.
Right
and
oh yeah, we hit on him hard, man.
Yeah. I was in the back of the house watching it on the outside TV.
He's going to be a.
That's why I took so long to come back here. I'm like, man, this is great. I get a night off.
You know why? These guys. You got two fans of college football who watch college football like we watch NFL. So we're like Mel and Mel Kiper
and Chris. I agree with that. I agree with your train of thought, but this is the thing. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people want your quarterback either. And that's part of the reason why this is the other side of it, because I don't hate Justin Fields. I just haven't seen enough from him to buy in all the way. I think the pieces are getting set up rather nicely. And I think this is a huge year that if Justin Fields really balls out, he could truly get paid. And not on the kind of mirage that the Daniel Jones failure did. Go ahead, Idris.
That's why I think Chicago should parlay that number 1 pick and build around them, because they can get a haul for that number 1 pick.
Because if you don't trade back that far, you still get Marvin or you get Neighbors, depending on what the organization wants.
And you still got a number 9 sitting there.
Chris, let me ask you a question. How do you feel? Go ahead, Idris. How do you feel about your? No, I'm not. I'm just talking to Chris on the comment box. Chris, how do you feel about your O-line? I'm just curious. How do you feel about the state of your tackles, so to speak? Your blindside protector. Do you feel good about the Chicago Bears O-line? Because there are some gifts in you're picking 9th, you're picking 1st.
Yeah, they're taking O at number 9. They've got.
You have to think. Yeah, I mean, you got Fashanu potentially. You can go to Alabama. You got some options.
It's an O-line deep draft, dude.
So I mean, and to Chris's mention there, where he was saying he would rather take 1 more year. I mean, you have 1 more year of Fields no matter what. You declined the 5th-year option on him. Mm-hmm. Braxton gets us bull rush. You have.
He's capable of being. So go ahead, Zach.
But yeah, you have this. What if Justin Fields takes the next step? You guys take Marvin Harrison at 2 or 3, and
pairing up with the smaller receiver,
and you got an O lineman at number 9,
and Mooney's still there, right? Mooney's still on the roster.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing.
And you have Cole Kmet too, and let's just say the Bears land Saquon Barkley and team him up with Khalil Herbert, because as we heard today, the Bears aren't interested in Barkley. Let's just say you guys make the playoffs. Are you going to still want your team to take a step back and draft the quarterback next year in a much weaker quarterback class, where the cream of the 2025 draft class is literally Shedeur Sanders and Quinn Ewers?
It puts a lot of pressure to make sure you get that guy now.
Yeah, are you really going to say move on from Justin? I honestly believe Justin Fields is the quarterback for the Bears moving forward for the next 8 to 10 years. That's what it's just Bears. I mean, impatience is there. I mean, you've had, who was it? Rex Grossman.
Oh God.
Jay Cutler. I mean, guys that have guys where if you had a competent quarterback, you would have won the Super Bowl against the Colts. You're gonna advance and you're gonna beat the Packers when it's Jay Cutler.
Caleb Haney came down, so they probably beat the Packers that year, if we're really being honest.
Yeah,
Kyle Orton.
So, I mean, Chris, is that honestly what you're willing to risk, that if Justin Fields does take the next step because he actually has the weapons around him? And I mean, let's be real. They made a good trade with Washington, bringing in Sweat, and that helped out their defense a lot. So now we know edge rusher is not much of a need anymore.
I want to make this clear. I'm not rooting against Justin Fields. I just feel that I haven't seen enough.
But you know what? Chicago can parlay that number 1 pick. They got a number 9. You can draft Marvin Harrison.
I want Justin Fields to succeed. Let me just make that clear.
Yes.
I think he's
get yourself an offensive lineman. So now you got Harrison.
I just need to see more.
You got Harrison. You got DJ. You got your O line. You're building. The man really hasn't had that good of an O line. I mean, I'm not a big fan of him, but I think you gotta build around this kid, because really, he hasn't had anyone around him.
So the deadline to pick up the 5th-year option has passed So Justin Fields, no matter what, is going to be a free agent after this season, unless if you guys resign him. So that's why I bring that up, Chris. But yeah, no, Idris, I agree with you, man. It's, oh man, I cannot envision a world where if you give him the weapons,
that's it. Yeah, this is the year. You see what he has. Take it from there.
And it's a
exactly. Yeah, you don't want Brock Bowers in there. You have a great tight end in Cole Kmet. Brock Bowers, to me, if you take Brock Bowers at 9, that's in my opinion a bad pick.
Yeah. You got to build around the kid. Because Chicago has it. And shout out to Chris Dixon.
That position is deep. You can still get a comparable talent at pick 50.
Yes, that's some.
Yeah,
you can build. This is an offensive line deep draft.
Very, 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 very deep.
So this can, like I said,
that's the interest with the Saquon thing too, buddy. Because Herbert, I can speak on this because that was my worst pick. I made the finals in my fantasy league, but he was undeniably my worst pick. I drank the Kool-Aid on that. Deontay Foreman wasn't it either. It's time for them to get not necessarily a premier back, but you want to get somebody more consistent. Yeah, for sure.
Chicago's in prime position, man. Chicago's in prime position.
No, they've got it in front of them. This is their opportunity.
Look, it needs center really bad. I already said earlier, Chris, that the 3 deepest positions in free agency are your safety position. They are what was the other one? Oh yeah, running back position, and what was the other one? Center. We saw Carolina release their center today. Center is very deep in this free agency, and then in the NFL draft, Powers is not going to drop to the second round, and you're not going to take him at 9. There is no center worth taking at 9. So, but a center you can find in the 5th round.
Chris, talk Jason Kelce. Talk Jason Kelce into coming there before he gets too lazy. Sell him on the city. It's totally done.
He got lazy the moment he jumped out of that suite in Buffalo. That's when he got lazy.
Caleb Parkey threw you a bone. Throw us one.
Jason right now is Gronkowski. He's done.
Oh no, Jason! Come on. I'm sorry. Look, here's if you're a professional football player at the age of 35, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, are you really going to jump out of a suite knowing that any sudden movement, because with age comes wear and tear?
We know
no matter what. Even, I don't care if you're an NFL player or not. NFL players, you're on the ground, but when you're jumping 10 feet down, 8 feet down, whatever, the possibility is there. Jason Kelce was retired the moment he jumped. Yeah, that's when I knew Jason Kelce was retired too, man. When, the moment he jumped out of there shirtless, like celebrating in Buffalo, and then that it was just reminded again in the Super Bowl.
That's also when I realized that me and Jason Kelce had a lot more in common than I realized at first glance.
I want a challenge. I want Jason Kelce. I have said it a few times. I challenge you to a beer chugging competition.
Sponsored by the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast.
Aaron Moorhead, holla at us, baby.
Bradley Bozeman, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Chris.
We don't want him to get too far removed from the organization where he's not coming around the facility.
Zappy, you need to contact my cousin so we can get that set up.
Aaron Moorhead, if you're watching, let's make this happen. Zappy versus Jason Kelce, beer chugging competition.
There's only one person that ever beat me, and that's because the dude could literally open his throat and just make it disappear.
I got my money on Zappy.
Wait a minute, you went against Brett?
No, I'm talking about chugging beer.
No, you said okay. We just making sure.
You
get what you deserve from me, Zappy. Keep me up tonight. Man, I just slept like 30 hours. I'm just playing.
Yeah, I'm
having a great time tonight. I'm happy that you boys did this second show.
Yeah, and that's quite possible because this free agent class, this draft class is deep. The free agent class became weaker. But like for the Bears situation, Darnell Mooney is a free agent. You're absolutely right, but you could still get a valuable receiver in the 4th round this year.
Easy.
So that's why it's like you're not going after 2 receivers in the draft and saying DJ Marvin and whoever else take over. if you're going after receiver, that means you're going to go after someone also via free agency, whether you bring Darnell Mooney back or if you go after.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Last year, it's in our catalog, Chris. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and you can kind of see how we went about it. Zappy and I did that last year.
Yeah, we do a mock drafts, and Idris and I will really break down the players coming out for the draft. But yeah, you got some knowledge on this right now.
Yeah, for sure. 17-second mark. Everybody, thanks for contributing. Chris Forster, Chris Dixon, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out the catalog. Come back. Announcements to come for Idris, for Mike Zappy. I am Richie. It was a pleasure. Have a great night.
Savannah Bananas.
The Bananas.